We take a look at a case coming out of High Point, North Carolina. The case of Fred Cox, who was killed almost a year ago when he was attending a funeral. Out of all things, he was at a church and all of a sudden he heard gunfire and he tried to protect a 12-year-old boy along with his mother by getting them safely back inside of the church when he himself was grazed with bullets. He was shot at least 3 times in his neck, his back, his shoulder, his thigh. And there has been a lot of investigation done by the SBI as well as the local county who participated. But there's some conflicting reports about evidence. Ultimately, what we've learned is that no charges have been brought forth in this case. I had the opportunity to speak with his grandmother when I was in DC. Take a look.
We also understand quite clearly
able to not find this murderer guilty in High Point, North Carolina.
He was at a funeral on November the 8th, and there was a shooting on one side of the church, and there was another shooting, which the other shooting was Officer Hill, and he shot him 5 times. The back, the side, and the leg. And in the midst of him shooting Frederick, he saved 2 people's life. 2 people. He pushing these 2 people in the church while this officer gunned him down like he wasn't a human being. And they wasn't shooting on that side of the church. And he has 2 children. That police officer took my baby/grandma life for nothing. No drugs, no gun, no nothing, no game. He was innocent. And they allowed him to kill him and say he's not guilty. How can the system fail us like that?
Tanika Shannon, the mother of Fred Cox.
On Sunday, November 8th, 2020, my only child, Fred Cox, was murdered in a church by an undercover detective as he ran out of his car to save a mother and her son from gunfire that ignited on the opposite side of the church.
You know, and as you hear the story, I know there's a lot of questions that may come up, right? Why was there gunfire happening at the church in the first place? According to reports, apparently it was a gang that was responding to the person whose funeral Fred was attending. And then also, why was a deputy there shooting? What I've learned in researching this case is that apparently the deputy was there undercover. And so when you think about a deputy being there undercover and innocent people being caught in gunfire and no charges being brought up, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it quite adds up, Ben.
Yes, Georgia. This case, I first found out about this case while with Roland Martin. He was speaking to the mother as well, and to hear the pain. You know, it's a mixture of pride I can hear, but also clearly the pain, because their son and their grandson, Fred Cox, Frederick, he jumped and leaped into action and literally saved the lives of 2 people, sacrificing his own life. And you could just hear it there. To understand the cause of his death has got to be the insult to injury, when you consider that it was so unnecessary because of where it took place, how it took place, and the fact that it was an undercover police officer who should have had better training, the ability to ascertain the situation versus create the situation where he ended up taking a life, and then no justice on top of it. Georgia, enough is enough.
Well, and you know, from a media standpoint, I always look at the narratives that were put out. It's almost been a year. And initially, there were accusations that Fred had a gun And if you go back and you look
That's
at
right.
the investigation that was done by the SBI, they determined he did not have a gun. And so it is a very there's a huge contrast in narrative when you look on one side and there's these
Mhm.
accusations that he had a gun and he was shooting back versus Fred Cox was a hero who saved the life of a 12-year-old boy and his
That's right.
mother.
That's right.
You're painting two very different pictures.
That's right.
One that evokes empathy and compassion, one that is the story of a hero, and the other that's a story that we always see that allows for a grand jury to produce no indictment against the
That's right.
officer
That's right.
because it paints a picture as though maybe he was responsible for what happened to him, that he deserved what happened to him, that what happened to him was justified.
Mhm.
But nowhere in that narrative and what was portrayed to the grand jury resembled anything that really counted to the fact that he helped save not only a 12-year-old boy's life, but also the life of that boy's mother.
That's right. That's right. In Georgia, it's so many times that they have to, and they being the system, this system of criminal justice, if we want to call it that, this injustice system has perfected the art of vilifying the victims, especially when we're Black, and precisely when we're Black men. Um, they're so used to doing this. Um, they're used to getting away with it because there's a level of dehumanization that has to accompany Black lives for the police to be able to continuously to get away with this. That's just the bottom line. Because if America for a moment has an epiphany of empathy and to actually see us as human beings, well, then that breaks through the hermetically sealed bubble of this dehumanization that Black people have been living under in this country for a very long time.